Oh, righty. What's up, interwebs? Ian McCabe here, getting ready for the Restoration Rebel Roundtable. We're going to start about 5:30, but I thought I'd just turn it on and see how it goes. So we're slated to go from 5:30 to 6:30 Pacific. So here's the link. The link is right there below if you want to get in on the action. Otherwise, yeah, we'll be here. We'll be here momentarily. But yeah, give me a few minutes and we'll see who shows up. Right? I'm gonna mess around with something here. What is this? Let's see here. Logo. No logo. I see. All right. Nope. Yeah, that's it. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, that was a little premature. We got more than 30 seconds. But if you get in here, I'll turn the comments on. Let's turn the comments on. Let's go over here. Comments. Here we go. I guess I can put the link here if you want to join us. Click this. Now, I wonder when I do a comment where it goes. Looks like it goes to YouTube. Looks like it goes to Facebook and Facebook. All right. But it doesn't go to the Restoration Rebel page, which is weird. Huh. Let me refresh the Restoration Rebel page. Oh, because I'm not on it. There, Restoration Rebels, right there. Okay. Yeah, there. Okay. And here's another link. Here we go. Okay. Oh, okay. That came up. See? This is working. It's working right there too. So somebody asked me this week why I moved away from Zoom. And the reality is Zoom it let me stream to one place at a time. And I spent so much time after streaming to the Facebook page producing, just editing and it took like 2 hours of my life every week to get the video that was already on the Facebook page to YouTube. So here, it's already on YouTube, it's already on the Facebook page, and I can start doing some cool things like highlighting and finding spots that I like and marking them for later. And we have our first victim. What's up, Mr. James Talley? Welcome to the show. We're almost ready to go. I can't wait to use my countdown timer. Where's my countdown timer? Good evening. Yes, indeed. Good evening, indeed. Where was that countdown timer? Oh, here we go. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. Oh, I need to come up with a background. All right. Ooh, let's do this right here. Yeah, maybe. There we go. This will get us in the mood. My kids love it when I dance. It's not embarrassing at all. Get some music. Getting in the mood. How do I get back here? Oh, right here. Okay. There we go. We can do this. All right, 6 more minutes. 6 more minutes. I'm gonna pull up the Rebel agreements while we're waiting. Almost every single week. All right, this music's gonna give me Tourette's here. How do I turn that off? This is okay. Oh, whew, okay. Nobody needs me having Tourette's today. How do I present? How do I present? Present? New layout. No. I want to present. How do I present? Oh, for crying out loud. Okay. Maybe Joe Spears can help me with my nonsense. Brand? Private chat? No. Comments? Nope. I want to present. I want to present something. How do I present something? Come on, people. Oh, it's that button that says present. Okay. Share screen. And window. And that one. And there we go. Ha ha. All right. You got it? Let's do this. Let's do this. Boom. We got 4 minutes. We're going to need some more music before we get going here. Because I know Joe needs to be in the mood here. Come on, Joe. Jam with me, Joe. Joe got a haircut.
Did I get a haircut?
Yeah, man. He's all official.
Lean back in my chair,
like clean cut and stuff. You got a real job now. You got to look all clean cut. So I think I accidentally sent out an invite to 338,000 people on Facebook just now. So this could get interesting. Is James just here to chill? Oh, he's waiting for the official time to come show his face, I'm sure. Get a couple minutes. What's new, Joe, man? What's happening? What's happening?
I don't know. Nothing, man. Just working. You know how that goes.
I saw you recruiting out there, doing some recruiting. And you're not the only people out there looking for Xactimate Pros. I think the next year or so is going to be the year of the Xactimate professional because everyone wants one.
Well, and yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like it's a growing, booming thing for sure. And we're just seeing a lot more people wanting to do it and all, but it's hard. I mean, it is. It's hard trying to keep up with speed with everybody, and and keeping the files going, and effectively, like I told, I was talking to my group, up until I came on. I mean, for lack of a better phrase, they were data entry guys. They were,
Yes.
they were taking the.
They weren't thinking outside the box, and they were not catching the dollars laying on the ground.
Well, I mean, it's a little bit more complicated than that. Here's what I think was happening: is that the contractors that we're doing work for was trusting their water techs that they were documenting things and everything correctly. So they're just putting the packet together, sending it to us. We're operating under the assumption that it's been audited by the contractor before being sent to us and validated.
Right.
And so we just write whatever they want, and then it goes on to our people that do the collections and the arguing, and then they're stuck in the middle of everybody being like, well, I don't know why they charge this here and stuff. And our only answer is that's what they told us to charge. And I'm like, no. I was like, we are the first line of defense. We are the quality control between people who don't, since we are using the Xactimate system, we're quality control between our clients who either don't use it or don't know how to use it, and the people that are talking to the adjuster. We should be answering the questions before they get ahead of us.
I agree.
It's like a file I'm working on right now for a residential project. I saw the tech put on the paperwork: detached stove, fridge, dishwasher, sink,
okay,
and all. Okay. But they didn't. And then countertop and cabinets. And I said to the client, I was like, hey, was there a garbage disposal? Was there a under sink water filtration system and everything? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, well, that's like $300 that would have been left off the table.
Did you detach that too, or did they leave that in place?
Yeah. Well, I know it's not there because they ended up putting a laundry tub in, but that's my whole point.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool. I'm actually sharing this on my group.
Yeah, you can.
And then I can, but my comment there is posting because I posted in my groups.
Yep. Dude, I'm a huge fan of StreamYard so far. I mean, this is, except for I can't find a way to schedule this meeting. I can't schedule the roundtable ahead of time. I haven't figured that out yet. I will figure it out, but I haven't figured that out yet. So it's every week. I just got to show up and then spit the link out there.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, it's stuff. The issues the issues as well as I do, but it's always one of those conversational breakdowns where it's like, hey, you're hiring me because you don't know Xactimate.
Exactly.
But but you're wanting me to pump out, they're wanting us to do 4-day turnarounds on these residential files. And I'm like, you got to pick a case here. Like, do you want me just to pump out residential files for 4 days? Or do you want me to critique each one and work with the contractors so they're better? And the files are going to take longer. They're going to be a little bit more annoyed by that taking longer, but it's going to be a better file.
Yeah.
And, provide more money on it.
I agree. Oh, whoops. I got to come back over here. I'm going to hit B. It says B. Marker created. Yes. All right. Now I can create markers. And like when I go back, I'm going to create little snippets. I'm going to do another marker right here. Boom. An Xactimate estimator is no replacement for good job site documentation. They are mutually exclusive. So it doesn't matter how good you are at Xactimate. If your technicians aren't picking up the details and writing them down somewhere, the Xactimate guy doesn't know. He just doesn't know. All right. So we're going to go, let's start this thing. We're 2 minutes after. There's another marker. Boom, marker. What's up, interwebs? Andy McCabe here, the Restoration Rebel leader. We got Joe over here. What's up, Joseph? This is the Restoration Rebel Roundtable for the 1st of November, 2023.
Jesus, I can't believe it's already November.
Oh, it's killing me. It's killing me. So we're going to start like we always start. We're going to start with the Rebel agreements. Hopefully you can read those. It's kind of small, but they're bigger over here. Agreement number 1, I will protect the value of my services. Offering free services only serves to erode the value of similar services industry-wide. And what I'm talking about here is those free damn comp estimates. Stop doing that shit. Agreement number 2, I will practice incredible transparency. I will explain the claim process to my client. I will not hide pricing details or falsify reports. I will never communicate with an adjuster without also communicating with my client. Agreement number 3, I do not believe in competition. The restoration companies in my market are part of my community, and I will be an active member of that community. It is our unbreakable unity that will create the change that we strive for. I want to touch on something here along those veins here in a second. I'm out of breath. Out of shape. Agreement number 4, I'm willing to walk away from any project, client, or contract that is not compatible with my values and stated mission. No relationship is worth losing money, sleep, or my humanity. And that is how we do it. What's up, Joseph, man? You're going on 2 weeks at your new digs. You settling in? You doing well?
Yeah, I like it a lot. I mean, it's a lot of small fires got to be put out, and it's one it's one of those things where you got to figure out which is the most important fire to put out first, while watching all the other fires so they don't get too big. And it's a lot. I mean, it is a lot, but I mean, regardless if you want to use Xactimate, if you want to use QuickBooks, Albiware, if you were to choose to use Symbility for some odd reason, like, it doesn't matter what system you want to use, obviously, but it helps you. It helps if you know how the system, at least a basic understanding of the system. And that's where I feel like our biggest issues are, is that, like I said, my guys have always, I mean, for the most part, they were data entry guys starting off. And now, I mean, just in the 2 weeks with me explaining, hey guys, we need to format this to read like a story, like room prep, demo, cleaning equipment, kind of organizing it, making all, they're getting better turnaround time. We're catching more money, but it's a process. I mean, understanding that you're, catching all the little stuff, like, I got people that don't even know that, glued on drywall is a different price, or, they're not letting me know, here's what time we were in and here's what time we left on demo day, so I can figure out how much of it should be after hours. And I mean, like I said, I mean, it's a work in progress, but I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just the future. This is going to be, there's going to be more and more companies like ours that specialize in this, because at the end of the day, we can do it more efficiently than they can in-house. And that's just the plain and simple fact. I had a contractor on the phone today, and I had his estimator on the phone today, who happened to be also his lead project manager, his lead technician, and his trainer for his company. This guy had plenty of things to do besides writing an Xactimate. And so when I said, hey, how about we take the Xactimate from you and you can concentrate on all this other stuff, and you still get the final say on the Xactimate before it goes out the door, he said, that sounds great. I was like, yeah.
Well, I mean, and that's kind of the thing that I'm having an issue with here, is like a lot of the clients that we work with don't use Xactimate. They were using like Albiware and things.
Albiware has a billing? You can estimate in Albiware?
Yeah. Trust me. Yeah. But like, like they don't know what all line items are in Xactimate. And I feel like they're just looking at the file, like they're just jumping to the back page. Oh, that's $6,000. I'm happy with it. Good. And they're not, I mean,
they didn't realize that 6,000 could have been 12 done correctly.
Well, I mean, like I had an 8,000 Albiware that I turned into 15. Yay. But, like I had one that they were expecting to be at like 12 and I got it to 18. They were super happy. But, I sat down with them for like an hour on Zoom and talked to their whole department. I was like, guys, look at, and I felt like I was chewing their butts out. But I mean, I was like, guys, like, even though I got this more money because I know how to build things, like y'all are losing that still on probably at least another $4,000 to $5,000 of billable items that you could have built for.
Okay.
Billable items that you could have built.
Hey, we've got a mod in the house.
Yeah. Hey guys.
Hey, we've got a mod in the house. Oh, wait a minute. Wait,
guys.
Oh, hey. Wait, I'm getting a feedback here. Hold on. Oh, wait a minute. Crap. Hey. Wait, I'm getting a feedback. Wait, I'm muting you. Yes, there you go. Yeah, you can't be a part of the conversation and then stream the conversation in a different window. That's going to mess everybody up. That's going to kill us. Okay, so I want to talk about this post in the group. During reconstruction, how do you handle? Okay, let me skip just to the. It was they don't want to pay O&P based on complexity and job site coordination. And I said, on behalf of the rest of this entire freaking industry, we must stand firm on this issue. We cannot allow carriers to dictate our billing practices up to and including when we can and when we cannot charge overhead and profit. Overhead and profit, let me stop sharing. Overhead and profit is not an optional thing. Just not. We have to charge it. In order to stay in business, we have to charge overhead and profit. Now, if you're going to make it so hard for us to show that charge, guess what? Carriers, we're going to bury the fucking charge and we're going to hide it somewhere. So, is that what you really want? You want us to hide it somewhere? Because that's what we will do. Because at the end of the day, we have to make money, and markup, a proper contractor markup, is integral to us making money, staying in business, and surviving and thriving into the future. So, I have a private. Okay, fix the stream. You can unmute yourself now, then, I guess, if you fixed it. If you promised you had fixed it. Oh, I just clicked it. There we go.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Hey, man, welcome. All right, so what's the thoughts on number of trades? You know, Phil, no, it ain't about number of trades. It's about whether or not you need profit to run your business. It's about whether or not you need to cover an overhead to run your business. And guess what? Most restoration contractors have a business overhead of 20%, not including profit. So
30%
if you have
here.
What's that?
30% here.
Yeah. Well, it depends. What some people don't understand is the bigger you get as a company, the more overhead you have. So your net as you grow tends to shrink because your overhead, in order to handle the volume and handle all the things that go with running a multi-hundreds of millions of dollar company, it involves a bunch of people that you can't necessarily job cost. You can't job cost your controller or your COO. You can't job cost your marketing manager, right? There's tons of things you can't job cost, but those are still people on your books that go towards your overhead burden as a company. So if we are not allowed to charge a markup, what are we doing?
What about this? What about I've seen a few people in the industry talk about.
Hold on, Phil, I don't know you, but you're wrong. It's not about number of trades. It ain't. All right. Sorry, go ahead.
Nothing there written about that.
I've seen a few people in the industry talk about how, when Xactimate was presented to us as hey, come use Xactimate, it's going to be great. We'll be on the same platform. Billing will be easy. And for a while it was good. And what it's turned into now is a weapon for the carriers to look at an estimate. I don't even send estimates anymore for them to look at. I just send invoices with an estimate Xactimate attached. But I've seen a few people just abandon sending Xactimate and create their own invoicing program as essentially submitting a sub bid with the built-in necessary overhead and profits while following the Xactimate pricing models.
Yeah, and that's what these carriers are forcing us to do. They're forcing us to find creative ways around their fugazi rules. And it's just forcing people. We're going to make our money, people. We're in business to make money. We're going to make our money come hell or high water. And if you're not allowing us to show you these things, we're going to bury them. Plain and simple. I'm a little fired up today.
Well, I think one of the biggest issues is it's not so much. I mean, the 3 trade rule obviously falls apart because the second I just have flooring installer, some baseboard, and painting, that's 3 trades. Oh, that's not complex enough for me to still have it. So the 3 trade is just bullshit that's been spewed around as a way to justify not paying the things. Now, that being said, though, I feel like a predominant amount of companies out there, though, there's 2 factors that I see going on, and it's hard to really talk to contractors overall about it without hurting feelings. Number one.
Oh, we're not afraid of hurting feelings around here.
Yeah.
First off, number one, if you are an Xactimate writer, if you or whatever, just because Andy charges $6,000 for the water job, and Andy has 4 trucks and 15 people in a big old warehouse, and then me and Tommy together do it, and we just work out of my van, doesn't, instinctively all the contractors say, well, if he's getting $6,000, I should be getting $6,000 on this job as well. And everybody thinks that they should be at the maximum amount of these jobs. When Xactimate's, I mean, if you think of Xactimate as a baseline average, then the amount of people I see that I'm like, I have people all the time, for the last 2 years where I look at their paperwork and their documentation or the quality of the work they're doing, and I'm like, you're wanting to charge higher prices than Xactimate. I was like, you barely even should be getting Xactimate pricing at that point. Like, some people do come in under, they have lower overheads. But, that's the first issue, where you have a lot of people who aren't doing the work up to the level that they're wanting to charge for. It's like saying, I was talking about
you can't charge for a Ferrari. You can't charge for filet mignon and give me a fucking hamburger. All right.
Well, that's almost what I said. I was like, just because you wear the same thing. You're Arby's, I'm McDonald's. You're more expensive than I am, but
sir, you ain't no Ruth Chris, motherfucker. You're gonna charge those prices.
But then, on the other flip side, just like I'm in a file right now, WTR LAB. Right now on LAB for this price list, which I think I'm in Arizona right now, on the hour, Xactimate is giving them $38.24 on the hour of a markup. So that is $38.24 over $71.11. That's a 53.7. So we'll say a 54% markup on the hour already.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you want a higher markup, if you want to charge a higher markup, you absolutely should be able to. But at the same time, in my opinion, you need to be able to justify it. You can't just say, well, I feel like I'm just coming in low. Where are you what's making you think you're coming in low? You've got one truck and 3 employees total doing the job, as opposed to Belfour or a bigger company that has, like I said, 5 or 6 trucks. Like, it's most of these contractors just they don't do the leg research, I feel like, to really be able to justify charging what they want.
Right.
Well,
I agree.
I would argue a little bit with that. I think maybe generally, but not across the board. We're a small company and we're trying to expand, and as you expand, your overhead gets exceedingly high, and it's very hard to make a profit when you get into that $1 million revenue range, and you want to expand on that. It's difficult. It's difficult. You get into a weird spot as a contractor where trying to expand your business becomes not worth it, or you have to borrow money.
And I do that there. And I'm not saying that marking up your files or doing custom pricing or getting away from Xactimate and doing your own invoicing, they all are valid, but you should be able to support any decision you make. And I've got a lot of people out there that I see, that I talk to, that they're just like, well, I mean, they're not giving me overhead profit. Well, you're already at 55% profit. What profit number are you trying to get at? Well, I need to add 20% to it. So I'm like, so
Joe, you mean in documentation, correct? Like the way you document the claim and present it.
Yeah. Like, I mean, provide me something where your CF, your financial guy or whatever said, hey, this is my overhead based on our numbers from last year. We have to average X amount, markup on every job to exceed last year. But no one does that. They just want to.
Who would do that to a carrier? That's none of the carrier's business, really.
Yeah. So here's the RIA position paper. This is their position paper number 3. And it says adjusters cannot dictate restoration charges and must not instruct or require restoration contractors to remove items from their invoices, change their prices, or match standardized prices. It is not the adjuster's role to tell a contractor how to write an estimate or invoice, or what to charge for work performed outside a managed repair network. And then at the bottom, here, the scope of work should always be consistent with prevailing industry standards of care and compliant with all applicable laws and regulations. The restorers can and should set their own prices. Contrary to popular belief, software providers do not set prices. Software providers are reporters of surveyed price information at a specific moment in time. By the way, I am the newly minted member of the RIA recruiting new membership committee. So if you're not a member of RIA, why the hell are you not? Get over there. Get signed up.
Sure.
Well,
restorationindustry.org.
when it's like you said, man. I mean, yeah, we don't have to report to the adjuster, but I tell everybody, if you don't like it, I tell adjusters when I talk to them, before you even talk about price, let's talk scope. Is the scope valid? Do you have any issue with the scope? Okay, no. Okay, then what are we here to talk about? Well, I just don't. You're way too expensive. Then we have rules and set for that. There, you can go to appraisal if you want to, or you can just pay my damn bill. But
What's up,
there's
Laura?
ways. But if you go to appraisal, if you go to, if you have to go into those realm stuff, you have to have the justification for your files and everything. And that's what I mean. Like, people don't have any justification. For a lot of people, they don't have justification. They just think they're not making enough money on the files.
I just think,
that's where I get annoyed.
If there's a line item in Xactimate, that means I can charge it. Well, no, you have to actually do it. You actually have to do it. So I think, Phil, I want to apologize to Phil. I was a little bit snippy. I think he was trying to say that the number of trades was an excuse that they use, and you're exactly right. And you get a great point here, Mr. Phil. This is exactly how you should do it. All right, so let's move on. Sorry, Joe, I interrupted you.
No, you're fine. But I mean, just like you just said about using the line item just because it's in there. The amount, like, I'm one of the people, I don't believe in using the FLIR thermal imaging bid item line item. If you're there to do a legitimate thermal inspection and figure out where the heat loss is coming from and bad installation, probably. But if you're just using like the little $300 camera to find the wet spot and then taking your meter to verify it's wet, you shouldn't be charging for that. That's part of your inspection time, your monitoring time.
That does not constitute a thermal inspection. Because guess what? A thermal inspection has a report that goes back with it, and it's backed up with all kinds of data and everything. It's an inspection report. Finding water with a thermal camera, yeah, I agree, does not justify using that expense.
For homeowners to feel like fine. Oh, look, there's water.
It's a great sales tool, but you don't need to charge for that.
I mean, it's a bid item, and people are like, well, we want to charge for it. Why not? You're going to get that wrote off. That is not going to get you paid. Why not just not put it on the estimate for bullshit fluff that is not going to get paid, and tack on an extra 10 minutes or something to your monitoring and equipment setup time or whatever to account for that extra time if you are doing that. That's a valid way
of doing it. Sure.
What about Matterport and DocuSketch bid items? You guys use that or have any success getting those paid?
Well, it's not a bid item. In my opinion, it's a cost.
Yeah.
This is what I'll say. If I'm Matterporting and it's like an entire house, an entire level, and I'm going to be doing recon and mitigation both, and I got to have all these measurements accurate all the time, I get them paid. If you're just Matterporting the bathroom and the loft upstairs and that's it,
sure. Yeah.
You would, in my opinion,
makes sense.
You would have sketched it on a piece of paper originally anyways. It's saving you labor hours. So it's not really, I mean, you can charge your time in the monitoring section of the mitigation. And I mean, now no one's going to pay for a true sketch for a bathroom in a loft area. Like, you should be able to sketch that out or get the $15 floor plan. You don't need to pay $1,000 or whatever. But
I agree.
But if you're doing the entire main level of a home, 100%. I've had Code Blue, Allstate, Sedgwick. I mean, hell, Sedgwick paid us $16,000 last year just in true sketch fees, plus my rate for 80 hours to Matterport or Complex. I mean,
but it's got to be justified. Yeah. The one rumor really doesn't. I mean, in my opinion, doesn't even warrant getting the Matterport camera out of the box.
It's like the Encircle app. I've got people who want to be like, well, I need a charge for the Encircle Magic Floor Plan. Normally it would take you an hour and a half to do this. You did it in 5 minutes. The amount of money you're saving is offset. Like, you charge your monitoring time to work it in there in a valid way. But if you call it out directly and say, I'm just charging extra or whatever, you are going to get massive pushback. Like, the bigger the job is, the easier to get is to directly get paid for all these little fluffs, or not fluffs, but these extras. But on a small, simple, I have a bathroom and a hallway and then in the ceiling downstairs. If you want a Matterport, I think you should 100%. Learn to sketch as an overlay and screenshot it. or order the $15 floor plan and sketch over top of it. There's no need to order the $30, $40, $50, $100 scans and stuff just because you don't want to. You're being lazy and you don't want to have to manually sketch it when you get back to the office.
I think you have to. I think that goes to everything else that we do. We need to be able to show the value, right? The cost benefit analysis needs to be a positive one. And the cost benefit analysis of getting the Pro 2 camera out of the box for a 1-room loss isn't there. So just like it becomes an unnecessary charge at that point, and it's, yeah, it's tough.
Yeah,
So Trey says, if it were a time and material bid, would you not charge for thermal and Matterport? Well, time and material, I would charge for my time. And if it made sense to do a Matterport, I would charge for that cost of the Matterport and the processing fees and everything else. But once again, it's got to make sense. The cost benefit's got to be there.
Well, and the other thing that I will say with Matterport is this here. When I had my Matterport account, I had a professional 25 files at any given time I could have open up. So on average, most of my files I could keep open for 3-4 months, plenty of time for the adjusters and everybody to look them over and review them. A lot of companies, though, they buy the $9 a month 5 span or the $20 a month 20 span, just enough to get their job scanned so they can turn them into us or whoever's writing their files. And then as soon as that file's sent over, they deactivate it. Well, if you're not going to provide that file throughout your project course until you're paid on it so anyone can access it, then you shouldn't be charging for it unless you have the ability to keep it open the whole time.
You're not providing the value. You're not providing the value.
We've never charged for that, but I think that goes back to the overhead and profit argument as a part of the overhead. That's something that regardless, I'll send a 3D link to every adjuster that has attached labeled photos. They can walk through the tour. We virtually have only IAs here in California and TPAs. So it becomes handy at that point. I never have charged for it. And I don't always get an ESX with it either.
I think you should. So the files that I manage with QuickCheck and with Claims Delegates, if they've done a Matterport, I'm using that Matterport to develop my stuff. I'm charging for it every single time. And I think, Trey, I'm not sure exactly what you're getting at here with what's the difference then, but I think it comes back to what we said earlier is it's got to be the value, the cost benefit's got to be there.
Well, and it's also, I think a lot also is that like Xactimate is an itemization tool, especially with Xactimate.
Yes.
If you want to build time and material, build time and material.
Yeah, that takes it out of Xactimate anyway. So yeah, maybe that's what Trey was saying is time and material. That's a moot point. Charge for everything.
The way it needs to be written. But I see a lot of contractors where they're like, I'm going to put 500. I had a job the other day, 500 labor hours for the demo, and then 4,000 square feet of extraction. And I'm like,
just a WAG.
There was a fire job. There was a big demo fire job. But they sent me over and it was like generator fuel, labor for cleaning, and then they mixed in 4,000 square feet of extraction.
So they mixed and matched T&M. Yeah, they got T&M with line item pricing. You can't mix and match.
They're mix and matching it to work to what they want it to be at.
No, you can't do that.
And but a lot of people do. A lot of people, if they don't know the line item, they just start throwing.
People that don't know what they're doing. Those aren't Xactimate writers.
No, they're not.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's just, I mean, if you're going to if you're going to use bid items, use bid items. If you're going to, if you want to bill for it, go ahead and bill for it. From my experience, if I'm not doing at least a 2,000 square foot Matterport, I'm not going to get paid on it because I would have sketched it out anyways. If I'm doing only like a 1,200 or a 200 square foot room, they're not going to pay for it. But you hit 2,000, 3,000 square foot, absolutely, because it makes everyone's life a lot easier.
Well, it comes down to usability and utility. How many people are going to be looking at this? So I handle a lot of high-end stuff, like high exposure risk stuff for attorneys, lawsuits, public adjusters, things like that. Once a claim gets to that level, it doesn't matter how big the loss is. I'm doing a freaking Matterport every single time because I know there's a high probability that this Matterport that I'm doing is going to be shown in front of a jury. But your day in, day out losses, I think it depends. I think you could argue it 100 different ways, either way, all day long. But
But you
I
don't
would,
charge for your moisture meters. You don't charge for your hygrometer, but you want to charge for the
well,
thermal or the camera to scan.
but
Now,
my moisture meter, my protometer doesn't charge me every time I upload something. So there's a cost there.
there is a cost there, but it's a minor cost that you can offset by charging. Hey, it took me an hour to scan. I'll just add an hour to my equipment setup and takedown time.
Sure.
And I mean, I get the stuff paid all the time. I mean, don't get me wrong. Whenever I have had a Matterport, I get paid on it. I get paid on my Eagle View, my Hover.
Sure. Sure.
I get paid on that stuff because I'm using it in the right time, in the right fashion. And I use a Pro too. I'm not just busting out my iPhone and going dink, 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 and it's all jagged and messed up. It's a clean, clear scan. And there's the value there. But I feel like people just get their hands on some of this technology and they're like, let's run with it and see how far we can get.
So there are other options now. There didn't used to be. Encircle is a very affordable option for small losses to do the scan and get the sketch right into Xactimate.
Yeah, if you're using Encircle, if you have Encircle and Matterport, if you want a floor plan, Matterport beats you because it's only $15. No matter the size, it's $15.
No, it doesn't beat you. You have to pay the processing fee to get it uploaded.
Well, you have a monthly subscription fee of depending between $10 and $65 a month.
Oh, I'm still grandfathered in. I'm still paying a $35 processing fee every time.
Oh no, like right now,
I don't have a monthly. I don't have a monthly.
I have a professional account where I pay $65 a month. I can have unlimited archived and 25 active spaces. That's the only thing I have to pay per month, and then I only pay additional if I want a floor plan or a true sketch.
I'm gonna get a call tomorrow from Matterport. I'm probably I'm one of 3 people still on that grandfathered plan from 2018.
But yeah, if you want the 2D floor plan apartment looking view thing that you can sketch over, Matterport's $15 regardless of size, up to like 25,000 square feet. And Circles was like
for the ESX or for the tour,
just for the floor plan.
Just for the floor plan,
it's $15. And Circles 28. But if you want the ESX file, in Circles $40. Xactimate is $79 for if it's up to 1,000. It's $159 from 1,000 to 4,000 and $389 from 4,000 to 10,000. So, and so I mean, if you're wanting the ESX file every time,
well, there's also DocuSketch. You're forgetting that one.
DocuSketch is $300 a month,
but it doesn't give you an ESX file.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does.
You get 10 unique
okay,
properties.
slow down. So wait, back up. $300 a month?
No, I pay $129 a month. You can do different packages.
Okay.
Well, I mean, last time I talked to him, it was $300 a month. You got 10 unique address scans, so you could have as many scans as you want in the same house. 10 unique scans with the ESX file, and then it was like $10 per file afterwards.
See, he's like $1,200 a month in DocuSketch here.
Yeah, there's no way. Oh yeah, well, he's probably doing a lot of them.
Well, at that point, you're better off doing any other provider but DocuSketch, in my opinion.
And that's why
we pay $15 for a 3D tour, right? Okay. We pay $45 for the first 1,500 square feet, and then there's an add-on charge for every 1,500 square feet from there. $129 monthly fee. But I've also been in since the beta testing version since 2016 or 17. So I'm a bit grandfathered into some pricing.
Yeah, like I said, the last time I talked to him, it was $300, 10 properties, $10 per each property afterwards. So if you need the ESX file and the 3D scan every single time, DocuSketch will probably be more cost effective than Matterport in the long run. But if you're
using it every single time, okay.
But if you have Encircle and you're using Matterport as a secondary documentation and CYA your company's ass product, then you should be doing Matterport and ordering the ESX file through Encircle. If you're trying to pick one program only and that's it, I personally would choose in Matterport because it's a $65 a month fee for a professional 25 account system. I can pick and choose when I want to order the floor plan or the scan, or I can just sketch over top of it. and then my people can still use their pen and paper for documenting and company cam for their photos if they need to. I mean,
I think
there's all kinds of ways to go.
Jay came up with a good.
I'll be right
It's
back.
a good argument, Jay, or a good. I think it's. I agree with you in principle, but actually getting these types of costs put into claims expense versus onto the actual claim is difficult. I think, yes, theoretically they could just say, hey, we're going to use this data, so we're going to call this claims expense versus taking that money out of the bucket of money for coverage. Yeah, I mean, theoretically you're correct, but I think in reality it's really hard to get adjusters to do that.
Well, and
The
I think
smart ones,
also,
I think, will.
well, I think for the three of us especially, people know, people do know who we are. If we're getting called out to a job, we're not going out and doing the job ourselves. We're acting in a consulting fashion. And on a consulting fashion, all that can go into the expense fund instead of against the policy coverage limits. But for your mom and pop everyday 24/7 restoration company, they're not acting in a consulting fashion. They're doing the job, so they can't bill it to the expense side.
Yeah, this actually came up in CNR magazine did a state of the industry today. Michelle and Know How got together. It was good. It was good, and I'll share that PDF in the group. But one of the questions in that survey that Know How did was regarding technology. And one of the biggest problems, I think it was a number 1 or number 2 problem with technology implementation, was the sheer number of platforms that restorers have to use, right? So Trey says, hey, if you're cheap, use Cubicasa, get a free floor plan, and use it as an underlay. Yeah, that is okay. But you are adding another technology platform on top of the existing stack of technology platforms that restorers already have to have. So in today's environment, it's yes, cost is a factor. Yeah, that monthly fee is a factor. But what I would argue is what's more important to me as a restorer is how many of these boxes can I check with one software platform versus I got to open this app to do this app to do this, and this app to do this. The guys that are doing it right are going. You're killing more than one bird with a stone, and you're accomplishing more things with one app versus having to implement so many different apps. Yeah, that's good, Trey. That's good, Trey.
And I mean, that's the thing though, is like everybody wants a harp on these little items here that make, I mean, hell, on a 1,500 square foot home, if you are charging 25 cents to Matterport, you're making like $300. Not that much money, but yet you're not taking the time to call an IA out or an IEP out to do a air sampling or a protocol assessment based because you have mold or because it's a category 3 and everything. And you can get, they charge them quite a bit, and you can get, bill it back to them as well and make money on top of it. Like people aren't doing lead testing. They aren't doing, they ain't doing asbestos testing, which they can make good. You can make pretty damn good money on. You can't even get, most people aren't even double bagging it. An Exactimate WTR bag for a 30 count box is $90. Like, and you're trying to down this hill about, like I said, encircle Matterport thermal cameras. You could easily offset it by doing the other things that you're already probably doing, and you just don't realize should be documenting it for it.
Yeah, I still think there's a lot of situations where charging for scanning, no matter what technology you're using, is a valid charge. It's a job cost, it's quantifiable, and it should be on your bill. It just should be on your bill.
Well, do you have a reasonable charge that's kind of a good industry standard that you're using?
There isn't one, right, that I know of. So I've just gone off of outside of insurance claims, or when I'm called in as an appraiser, or when I'm called in as an expert witness, a subject matter expert, what do I charge? So that's what I base it all on. And I came up with my own pricing. I have my own schedule of fees for all that stuff. And my schedule of fees for a residential scan up to 2,500 square foot in Matterport that's hosted for 2 years and gets me an Xactimate sketch is $1,500. I just came to that through my experience of I'm going to charge $1,500 for that. Yeah, 1,500 for up to 2,500 square foot for a Matterport scan and an Xactimate file or Xactimate sketch file, not an estimate.
See,
Because guess what? I gotta get on in my truck. I gotta go there. I gotta do the thing. I gotta come back. I gotta host this thing for 2 years. There's a cost for that. And so it's not about what it costs me. It's about what the value is to the end user. And in the circles I'm playing in, let me hit that.
But when you're being called in, I could see that. But there's no way they're going to pay.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm a firm believer.
Why not?
I just don't see it.
Like I charge
there. I agree. I
charge a set amount per square foot for residential. I charge a little bit less for a large scale. For a large scale commercial. But I mean, when it comes to that true sketch, all I'm doing is literally doing this. So I just pass the buck on and say, hey, it was $158 or $389. Right. I'm billing you at cost for that true sketch. Right. But I'm billing you for my time for me to go there, scan it, and everything else.
But when you're doing that scan, you gotta accommodate for your time, and not just your time, but your gas and your, one of the biggest risks we all take on a daily basis is getting in the car and going on the highway. There's a risk to everything we have. We do. We have to build that risk into our pricing schedules. Period. JG9350, is it still legal for insured to GC rebuild in Indiana? No yes. clue. I'm assuming it is.
You have to have. I mean, you can do the work yourself, or but you can't be the GC as a residential. You have to be a company. But yeah, I mean, like I said, but on a 1,500 square foot home, if I'm doing say 25 cents, that's $300. A 1,500 square foot home, I'm going to take probably, 40 minutes to maybe scan it.
Okay.
So 300, maybe $500 ain't a bad price.
With drive time and processing fees. You don't pay processing fees, but I do. And then hosting fees. There's if you're limited by, let's just talk Matterport specifically. You are limited. You have a total number of spaces you can host at any given time, right? Yep. That you should know as a business, if whether you're a consultant or a restorer, what is that worth to you? What's that cost you? What's that hosting cost? Even though it doesn't cost you a specific dollar, you need to have a dollar in your head. Like, this is the cost that's associated with that. And then, as with everything else you do as a restorer, you take your costs plus your markup that you've already determined, and there you have your price. And my price happens to be $1,500.
And like I said, I'm a cheap ass. The passwords don't change. The logins don't change. The little links don't change if I deactivate and then reactivate it. I'll deactivate it. You want access to it? Just call me and say, hey, reactivate it. Boof, I'll reactivate it. Not a big deal. But I'm going to keep it. I'll have everything in there. And then that way there also, I know if I don't want to pay for it. Okay. Guess what? It's been deactivated. And then when they're like, well, I can't access your link. Well, you didn't pay me for it. So piss off. You want it? You're going to pay for it.
This is a great solution right here.
Yeah.
I'm going to get behind this all day long. It's because there's too many times we don't, as an industry, we don't recognize the true cost that it is and the true value going out, developing that estimate and consulting with the homeowner on the claim. There's serious value there that we undervalue all day long.
You have to have a provision for that in your work authorization.
Even if you're not doing the Matterport, like I get people all the time. Oh, someone wants me to come out and give them a free estimate. I will come out and tell you based on my experience of 20 years, I'm looking at your property, it's $4,000. I'll give you a price range between $3,000 and $7,000 for unexpectables. If it goes beyond that, we'll do a change order. Oh, well, I need this itemized. Oh, okay, then. Well, that's going to cost you because I can now take my extra time to go to gather the document, go back to my office,
Yep.
write the file up for you. You're going to pay me for that part. And I tell people that all the time. Like, I will happily drive and waste my gas as a marketing employee to come out and look at your property if you want and give you a free from the hip price. But if you want or need an itemized pricing, that's a fee. And I used to charge people when I was when I wasn't writing estimates on like I am now. 1%. I'm going to charge you 1%, and if we get the job, I'll apply that to the job, the cost of the job. But you're going to pay me for that. And homeowners like, oh wait, I thought it was free. Yeah, it is for me just to say hi to you and meet you. But if you need me to do this stuff,
free estimates that works for garage doors and exterior painting.
A verbal consult is a lot different than a detailed scope of work on an Xactimate. With various softwares.
Yeah. And doing it for free only devalues everything else we do as an industry. And there's a reason we have that in one of the Rebel agreements, because when we do these things for no cost, we just devalue everything else we do, which is stupid.
And like I said, I mean, if you are an Xactimate user, if you're not seeing success on billing for your Matterporting time, or you're not seeing success on billing for Encircle or whatever it is you're trying to bill for, instead of washing away, take a step back, take a breath, look at the file and say, well, where could I actually apply this to that makes sense? I could apply an extra hour or two in my monitoring equipment setup and takedown time. There, you're covered. It's easy, I mean, you have, I was on site for that. That's how long I was there for and everything, I mean, there's ways to do it. And, I feel
I'm going to show you a note that I use. Keep talking.
Too many people, though, I feel like they put on this stuff, like they'll put on there the thermal imaging for pure fluff, knowing that, well, the adjuster just wants something to take off. You know what? When I write a file, majority of the time, the adjusters are like, this is way more expensive than I was expecting, but it's a well-written estimate.
Well,
I can't argue with it too much. And I mean,
the photos of the thermal with the detailed descriptions and annotations, then that would seem justifiable.
Most people are holding the C2 camera here, their cell phone here, and taking a picture of it saying, I did a thermal imaging scan.
Yeah.
Get out of here with that.
There's Lou.
So Joe.
Lou, what's up? Lou's on a bike. He's at 24-hour fitness, getting it on.
Wow.
All right. Good to see you, brother.
Impressive.
All right. I got to show you this. This is my share screen. This is part of I've got a macro I run for, it's not showing up. I'm going to have to go entire screen. All right, this is going to be weird.
Me tired watching you, man. I'm
breaking a sweat. I'm going to move this over here. Okay, I don't know if I can zoom this in or not, but job-related overhead items. Expenses, this is straight from Xactware. Expenses that can be attributed to a project but not a specific task, including expenses necessary to complete the project, are considered job-related overhead. Examples include project managers, on-site portable offices, restoration facilities, temporary power, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Job-related overhead expenses should be added as separate line items. This is done within the line item entry window. This is straight from Xactware. And I just put that in every single general conditions I do. And that's just matter of course. All these things are job-related overhead items. I mean, here's my note this is my note for Matterport. The use of third-party documentation and capture tools allows all materially interested parties to collaborate on a single data set. This eliminates the potential for bias in a collection and presentation of relevant data to a claim. And it's all valid. It's job costed.
If you work with large loss adjusters, if you're working with the commercial account adjusters, they are used to, they're like, yeah, pay for it. It's the smaller,
all day long,
mid-sized residential adjusters that are like, this is outrageous. They act like it's more their money than anybody else.
Yeah, but these guys, some of these adjusters,
the worst.
handling these $65,000 claims. Guess what? That's more than they make every year. How can they have a frame of reference when the claim is more than they make in a year?
Like I got into the other day with them, they're like, well, we detach and reset shutoff valves. And I was like, well, that's good for you, but my plumber ain't going to warranty your client's home reusing that piece of shit shutoff valve. So I will happily reuse it, but there will be no warranty extended to your client's coverage for any plumbing related work we do. And you need to explain that to them. Period.
And that is exposing the insured to a secondary loss. Plain and simple.
You know, like the amount of times I've seen people, well, you can detach and reset the supply lines. The fucking tag at the store when you buy a brand new says, do not reuse once disconnected.
Really?
Yeah. Go to Lowe's and pick up a supply line. And
somebody send me a screenshot. Somebody do that. Somebody
don't even have to touch. You have to do remove.
Take a picture of that for me.
Yeah, that's why there's not a detach and reset, because you're not supposed to reuse shutoff valves because you don't have any way to warranty that it was wore out. P-traps you can detach and reset because it's not a tight compression fitting. It's a loose gravity fed system that's not under pressure, so you can reuse those. And I'm like, how do you guys not understand this, like Mr. Adjuster?
They don't understand it because they're not taught to understand anything.
No, that's not normal. New construction.
Also, using new construction pricing on a fire claim, is that normal? No. And it's not pricing. It's not a pricing. It's new construction efficiencies.
New construction means everything's there on a pallet, ready to be built, and it's like Tinker Toys. Yeah. You're not doing that. You're making it's like retrofitting the house. You are making the house fit, this new shit fit.
And this is what he's talking about. For those of the people that are trying to keep up, we are moving at the speed of light. But let me come back here. Window.
While he's doing that, what were you going to ask me, by the way?
Here.
You were going to ask a question a second ago.
This is what he's talking about. This is wait. New construction right here. Yeah. This assumes that it is that you're not working in a restoration environment.
There's no issue.
You're starting from scratch. There's no inefficiencies, and you're able to schedule things it's just the new construction. I don't know why Exactware still has this.
Because if you're doing an add-on, like, I'm going to add on a back patio or something.
But no one uses Xactimate. No one uses Xactimate for remodels or additions.
That is what's fucking, and I'm sorry for cussing so much, but here's what blows my mind.
You swear, man. Put a quarter in a jar.
Your average homeowner thinks the insurance company wants it done for the cheapest price, and that they're going to nickel and penny and dime us all day long. Which is, they try to get us to work our price down. But if you take the same exact scope of work and you hand it to the homeowner and say, this is how much it is going to be, they act like you are trying to rip you. How dare you ask for that? That's the going rate. Mm-hmm. And it's so crazy that if I'm paying a homeowner, they think I'm way high price, but it's the price the insurance companies will pay. And most homeowners assume insurance pays dick. They pay the cheapest price. And it's like, everybody's out of touch with what the cost is.
Read your policy.
Well, in your areas, guys, in Indianapolis here, it's $175 a square foot rough conversion rate to remodel a property. You can average about one.
That's low.
That's cheap.
That's low. That's like 2006 pricing.
Man, like 1999.
Maybe it's 250 then. But that's what I'm saying. Like people
we're legit. Bend, Oregon, legit $295 a foot. Period.
I would go 100 higher here in LA.
Well, it's LA, and you're in San Diego, aren't you?
I'm in North Los Angeles, Woodland Hills, but we service all LA County, Ventura.
Yeah. I used to live there in Northridge.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Exactly. All right, Jay, you're gonna have to make another comment. What's garbage? What's garbage?
I think he was saying that I'm at 125. Like that's crap money.
125 is garbage. Well,
that's when I grew up.
Buy a really nice cardboard shack in an alley for that here.
But even I estimate all the time stuff. But that was always kind of what I was talking growing in the field.
I think that brings up a larger point that for contractors or people working in your guys' field that are located in California, I've seen a huge shift in the industry just within the last 4 to 6 months with what carriers are paying out or willing to pay out ever since State Farm announced they were moving out of California. And then Allstate announced, we did that a year ago. We just didn't say anything. And then you had mass exodus of other carriers. What right now everyone's just saying, "F you, we're not paying. We don't pay for that. Sue us, okay? We don't care." It's really tough right now in California.
Yeah, they're cutting their losses, and they're daring the insured public of California to sue them.
They are.
And they're betting, they're rolling the dice that most people, most good Americans don't want to get an attorney. But that's what's working against the insured public in general, is their unwillingness to hold their insurance companies accountable for the policies they've been paying for the last 35 fucking years.
See, the position statements and the Title 10 Department of Insurance Code of Regulations, all that used to work with them when you would announce it to them or write it, articulate it. They would back off, they would pay. Now they're just like saying, "Oh, great, good for you."
They're like,
we're still not paying for
out. It's scorched earth.
But the insurance company works really. I don't think people appreciate just how much money the insurance companies spend to spin everything to look in their favor.
Propaganda
at all times. I mean, and a great example of this, the old McDonald's lawsuit thing with the insurance. Everyone knows the story about the lady spilled McDonald's coffee.
$30 million burnt crotch. Yes. How could we forget?
In reality, she was sitting in a parked car, and she even admitted she did it. It was her fault. And also, but the coffee was so hot. All she asked McDonald's to do was pay my medical bill, and I'm happy. And when they wouldn't, they went to court. All they got charged for like 1 day worth of how much coffee they sell globally in 1 day. That's what her payout was for. So it was for 1 day. But everybody always talks about that story, and they're like, "Yeah, we all know it's ridiculous. She spilled hot coffee. Why are you driving and drinking hot coffee?"
That makes more sense. She just went to them and said, "Hey, I burnt myself on your coffee, and I've got some bills I'd like you to pay for." And they said,
it was like that far away from boiling. It was like 260-degree coffee. They were turning the thermostat up as high as possible because people don't drink right away. They drive to work and then drink so it stay warm. And it caused her to have like third-degree, like
you Flagstaff, right? It was Flagstaff, Arizona. I went to that McDonald's.
Yeah, and all she asked for was pay my medical bills, and I get it. It's my fault, but would you pay my medical, because you shouldn't have had the coffee that hot. They said no, and the judge said 1 day worth of your coffee sales is what you're paying this lady. That's it. That's all they got slapped on the wrist for. And but everyone thinks she was driving like a maniac with hot coffee, going, "I'm going to sue McDonald's," and that's not it. But do that to everybody. Right. I mean, these news stories that you see, like Inside Edition on mold restoration companies or Inside Edition on duct cleaning companies and how bad they are, they're all crooks. Yes, there's some that are. But a lot of those times, those stories, they're being pushed by people that want you to not use those services or make them look bad so you don't trust them. That's why, even though the insurance routinely bends you over the barrel, every homeowner still, for some reason, instinctively thinks my insurance company has my best interest in it, and all contractors are out to be crooks.
That's the misconception. Well, I don't know if it is and it isn't changing. The misconception is I am in good hands. I have a good neighbor. My insurance company is there to protect me. I've been paying them this long. They're going to do right by me. That's the assumption. But the understanding, I think, from what, maybe I have a slanted view because the only people that call me are the people that have problems. But I think the underlying understanding is, these guys really don't have my back. But still, people are afraid. People are afraid, and these carriers are really good at making people feel guilty for having a claim in the first place, making people feel like, oh, well, your contractor's overcharging. We don't pay for that. That's unreasonable. And it's this constant barrage of misinformation.
They drive a wedge in between the consumer, the policyholder, and the contractor if you're not an in-network vendor.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, I mean, and it starts at the top there, or it starts at the, I guess, top or bottom, however you look at it. The agents. Do you know how many homeowners I went to jobs for, and they're like, "Oh, my agent said this wasn't a big deal. I didn't need to file a claim." The agents get a black mark against them every time a claim is filed. And if they have too many claims in a specific area, they can get suspended from selling coverage for that carrier in that
If
area.
the agent's loss ratio gets out of whack, they don't make a commission.
Yeah.
It's not in their agent's interest for them to tell you to file a claim.
Joe,
ever.
are you in Oregon too? Joe?
No, I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana.
He's in a weird bubble of space time that actually 125 a foot is a reasonable amount to build a fucking house.
Dang. I'm moving.
Well, I mean, Andy, and it's funny, but Andy's true. I mean, Andy, you know, my best friend's an Allstate adjuster, and she usually outwrites most of the contractors on exact.
She pays everything.
And she's like, look, I don't want supplements and deal with it at the end. You want $1,000? I'm at $2,000. Here's $2,000. I've already paid it. Don't come back at me with a supplement. I already know what you're doing.
No, they deal with different states differently. That's for sure. At least California is definitely it's a special case where most carriers have a division set aside for California, and it's ad contractor. And the problem that we see too is the new 18-month tenured desk or claim rep adjuster, whatever title they have, is sitting in Texas or Florida, and their costs that they normally see are way lower than what we have here in California. So they just automatically assume that we're gouging.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like my friend at Allstate. She told me last year
they're not paying $6 a gallon for gas either.
Yeah, $7.
Yeah,
you should take a picture of the pump and just send it to them.
Yeah.
What are you paying?
But I mean, that's like my Allstate friend. What she told us the other day or last year, she was like, we had a staff meeting. They said that 70% of the mid-range to lower claim adjusters, so 65,000 and less, have less than 3 years experience in the industry as a whole.
I think 3 years is generous.
Yeah.
I mean, every time there's a hurricane, all you see in these adjuster groups are these people flocking to get these fee schedules to BIAs, and you go out and write these files, and they're like, I need help on learning Xactimate. You shouldn't be going to a disaster area helping people.
Every single cat. Right, because Joe and I are part of these groups. We're in 100 different Xactimate related groups. Every single cat. Hey, I just got my license. They say I need Xactimate. How do I learn Xactimate? And these guys are going out to catastrophe events, and they're going to write 150 claims in their first week with zero experience.
And then they have no interest in doing any supplemental work because they got paid on a fee schedule, and they're not getting paid anything extra to fuck the fee schedule.
They don't get paid anything extra to fix their fucked up estimate in the first place. Oh.
And the only thing they know is what the company has told them. We don't pay for overhead and profit. It's not complex enough. It's not 3 trades. And they drink it like Kool-Aid because they don't know any better.
How do you deal with stability and like Safeco?
I don't.
Well, the problem with stability is if you take this is what I'll tell you. On a default priceless Xactimate,
Lou, you're
default priceless
Lou, you got a fan club now.
Or stability. If you account for every last thing you need to in stability correctly, you can equal to, and even on some roads, I've actually outpriced default Xactimate. But if you're affecting your supporting events, if you're doing your trade changes and your things like you're supposed to in Xactimate, you will outprice stability. The problem though is a vast majority of people, there's 2 types of stability users: those who are in Xactimate, and those people instinctively think, oh well. This is a bad example probably, but it makes you understand it. Xactimate includes the donut gasket for the toilet and all. And now it includes the toilet seat. Stability, must be, if this says detached reset toilet, it must be the same thing, but they don't realize, but it ain't. Each component's a different part. And, and then the other people that use stability are people that have never touched Xactimate, but people that are doing that, they're not being paid to invest in themselves. There's not a market for people like me to invest my time into learning stability really well to fight it. So nobody can argue it. I can. I took the time to learn stability. I fucking hate it, but I can write it. You give me a stability estimate, I'll give it to you in exact. You don't want it, I'll give it back to you in stability, and I'll probably be higher than I was beforehand.
But it's pointless to go back and forth Xactimate stability. So now we just do a straight sub bid. I'll just write a bid. I won't even send them. I'll do an Xactimate estimate for job costing, then send it as a detailed sub bid or bid.
Right. Right.
So I made an adjuster really
stability
mad,
is-
Andy. You're gonna laugh at this here. So I took
Wait a
the
minute.
entire
Wait. We've got actually an adjuster here chiming in. I don't know what group this is from. I'm a claim adjuster that's in the process of getting my drone license. I'm an aversion to drones. You guys are very knowledgeable and got me hyped up to hit the books and continue to sponge. Well, we will give you the shit, 100%
That's from my group,
unfiltered.
Andy. That's not a rebel. That's for my group. Just so you're aware.
Okay, it's one of yours.
He's about to
All
get
right.
nervous, but he's like, we don't have adjusters in our group. But but yeah, there's just not a market for people to be professional stability writers, and most adjusters, they're so busy getting 3 to 4, 5 claims a day, they're not taking their off time to sit around and learn to be
another
professional,
platform. No.
And that's what they bank on. And I will say I pissed off an adjuster really bad the other day. I wrote an entire estimate up, all the line items there. And then I got my contractor to give me all of his bids. And I left every single line item in the estimate, but like all the drywall work, I turned the note on to say, see drywall bid, see electrical bid. And I just threw all the bid prices in there, but left all the line items in. This guy lost his mind on me. Like he thought it was the most, he's like, what the hell? I'm like, well, I wanted you to see what all they did, but this is their price. And he hated me for it.
What was the markup?
What
was the markup on the sub bid?
Honestly, I do not remember off the top of my head here, but I think it was I think they marked it up like 25% only. Like they weren't looking for that much more.
Not enough.
Well, this is a small little company and stuff. It's like 3 guys. So, they don't have a large overhead, but it's just like, adjusters don't even know how to use Xactimate overall. I just wrote an estimate where I did as a water mitigation. I put separate coverage in for mold and abatement. And I wrote one file with water, mold abatement, with the final draft, separate coverages. And it says, here's how much for each section of this process.
Sure.
You need to separate that. We won't look at files unless they're separate. You have to have separate files for each of these. I was like,
wait, you separated into coverages and he said you needed it separated?
Yeah, you have to. I had to duplicate it, delete all the water and abatement from this one.
That's just lazy.
They're like, we won't look. I'm like,
that's
why?
lazy adjusting.
That's designed to be used.
We get that all the time. We have to separate all those.
Well, you shouldn't. You should not comply. Add a different coverage. Put the stuff under the separate coverages. It's in the same file. It's the same loss, and it prints out just perfectly for them. Hey, here's how much you spent on mitigation. Here's the contents. Here's that.
And you can guarantee and show that you're not double dipping. You're not double charging. That you're not got this on both sides. Like it's all in one file.
They started doing that because people were getting O&P on the whole estimate, but they didn't understand. Even then, they probably didn't have the knowledge that you could turn O&P off for a certain subset of line items, even though you should be getting.
Why would you? Yeah, let's.
I'm just saying. I think that was the initial. We want to separate it because they don't allow O&P in mitigation. Some carriers and they get away with it.
I do that all the time.
I still haven't found the policy that says that. It's
just standard practice. It seems like anymore, and I disagree with it. But I'll write a whole mitigation now.
Wait a minute. What?
I'll only have overhead and profit on the.
Lou's got a comment. What do you got, Lou?
What carrier in California is allowing O&P on single trade mitigation?
What carrier in California is allowing O&P
on single trade
mitigation? Yeah.
Whew, I don't know one, but you can build it in, like you said, and you can write your overhead in. There's other ways to do it.
Yeah.
Sure. I misunderstood. I thought you were adding O&P at the end on the check boxes.
No, what I'm saying is, if you have a combined estimate, you can turn off O&P for
turn off O&P. Yeah.
Well, there's always ways around that. If you're doing a fire job, all the demo, all the structure clean can go on the recon estimate and get overhead and profit on it. And just the part where you have to set dehues and air movers up, you separated that out without the overhead and profit on it, and the adjusters will have no problem with it. I do that every day of my life.
Yeah, we do that too.
But I still haven't seen an insurance policy that says I have to do that.
No, I know.
But on my mitigations, I'll put overhead and profit on. I'll have it turned off on everything, but I'll leave it turned on for my bid items. so they can see here's how much the bid item was, and then at the bottom it has the overhead profit just on those items.
We
So they have to
defer
feel like
to
that's
the
wrong.
RIA position statements when they say
Yes.
things like we don't charge for O&P.
Yep. So I'm gonna since Joe, I know you're streaming this to another group that might have adjusters in it. Here's a challenge to everyone in that group, every adjuster in that group. Please show me the insurance policy basis for the carrier guidelines that you are forced to abide by. You show me that, I will change everything in my life.
I mean,
I will become a Buddhist. All right.
And that's the thing is, like, I
That's
can
how
understand
serious I am about this.
I can understand the concept of 3 trades. I don't agree, but I can understand it. But when they say it's not complex enough, who the fuck are you to determine? How are you determining whether or not it's complex
How do you
enough?
know? You couldn't build me a fucking bread box. How do you know how complicated this job is?
Hey, it's
You know,
either
that's
O
my
and
big thing.
it's either O and P or it's margins and markups. It's one or the other.
Exactly
Yeah,
right.
I mean, how do you determine?
Exactly right.
I mean, what guidelines? What are you expecting to see to justify that it is complex enough? And I think majority of the time it's a subjective viewpoint done on a case-by-case basis by the adjuster. This is just some vinyl flooring and some baseboard, and they're just going to paint the baseboards, and that's
No,
it. So,
no, Joe, I think you're giving too much credit to the adjuster. I don't think the adjusters have that kind of they don't have that kind of range. They're not allowed to
if
think
their
like
boss
that.
is above them,
They have it's above them. It's above them. This is top down stuff. These are the guidelines you will enforce.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so effective when you get a ward law. A third party ward law comes in and says, well, we'll talk about your mitigation estimate. You just tell them to pound sand. I am not changing my invoice. And they report back to the carrier, well, they told me to pound sand.
Well, we
Okay.
do a one-time 10% off, take it or leave it right now offer to Wardlaw, and they take it every time.
10%.
Yeah.
Well, because that's their goal. Change it to 5.
Well, I
Change
write
it
it.
to 5.
I write it to give the 10%. I write it to have to give 20.
Oh, you anticipate it.
Yeah, I anticipate
Okay.
it.
See, I'm telling you, carriers out there who are going to see this, that you're forcing us to do this.
well, I
You're
know.
forcing
I
us to do
want to say
this.
that it was.
You say, oh, I can't have that. Well, I'm going to get paid one way or the other, son.
They don't
You do
understand the overhead, and it is tremendous.
Well, I mean, there's no markup at all in Xactimate on your materials, which first off, that justifies me doing global overhead and profit by itself because I need to add in my markup for my materials.
Period.
End of story. Even if you want to go by the basis of, well, there's labor markup on the line item, which is for the sub, or if you're doing it in-house, that's why you don't need it. That's fine and dandy if that's your stance, and I can go either way on that one there. But if my overhead requirements and my profit requirements, when I take into account that there is still lacking, then I should be allowed to add my global overhead in there to offset it. But nobody wants to. If my company needs 35% profit, effectively in Xactimate, the way it's supposed to be written is if all the drywall line items added up to $1,000 or $10,000, that's for me to spend on the material and to pay all the workers, and I make zero money. So that's why the global profit's there. But instead, I have to tell my sub, with materials, after I buy the materials, I can only pay you $4,000. That way there I keep a chunk of it. And that's not the way the program's designed to be worked in. And they're forcing us to do that. And that not only affects us having to be creative with how we write our estimates, but it also devalues our skilled trades, which is a dying industry. Nobody is going into skilled trades anymore. And all because they make shit money. They don't make enough money to survive. Like
they don't.
It's like roofing. It's like the roofers. I had a roofer last year who he was a sub, and they were billing like $150 to maybe $175, $80 a square for tear off and to reshingle homes. And then he went out on his own and started using Xactimate. He's like, wait, so you're telling me that you guys are billing the insurance company $400, $700 a square averages, and I was doing it for $200. I was getting, no wonder I was starving myself, and I decided to go out on my own.
More like $1,000 a square here.
Yeah, I mean,
sure. Because guess what? You couldn't pay me enough to work in California.
Yeah.
Because working in California is just like hanging out a shingle and saying, sue me.
Is it exceedingly and more difficult? And there's a big Cal exit
It's
Oh, yeah.
hard, man. It's
Well,
hard.
I mean,
You guys are fighting every day.
It's a constant grind. I mean, it's sometimes you're just like, what am I doing this?
and that's the thing is, when I ran my crew, I would hire ex-journeymen who were laid off. I would hire skilled trade people. But the insurance wants to treat you like they're expecting you to pay for the guys down at the Home Depot that you're just picking up in the evening, or the guy, the drunks and the drug addicts and stuff that can't hold down a job and they'll take whatever you give them. I need quality. I don't need just Bob and Tom. I need to have a skilled person.
That's a big part of the problem, though, is because a lot of contractors are using those guys that are coming across the border, doing the jobs for cheaper, thus standardizing that pricing model for the carriers and saying, oh, well, my contractor will do it for that. Our vendors will do it for X. We'll do cabinets for 125.
I don't agree. I don't agree.
I was in California. I agree with him for California. I agree with him for Texas, Florida.
No, I think you're.
When I moved to California, I thought it was in the movies only. I did not think people actually stood next to Home Depot all day long waiting for someone to pick them up and give them work.
And they're expensive.
But you're combining
25 an hour.
I think you're combining two different ideas here. The price, the fact that a carrier says, "Oh, I have a guy that'll do it for that," and that guy goes out and gives a bid for that, that has nothing to do with what he's paying for labor. That has everything to do with the fact that he knows where his bread is buttered, and he's giving a fugazi estimate in the first place. It has nothing to do with his job costs or his labor costs.
I agree with that, but I think it's connected to the at least here, the TPA in-network vendor programs and the ACV first written estimate. A lot of contractors think that that's the final estimate.
I had a piece of shit adjuster from Farmers send me an email today, and he said, we had Metro Restoration give us a number, and they were within $1,000 of our number. And I wrote back and said, I don't recognize Metro Restoration. I didn't ask them to come out and give me a bid. They work for you. They are an agent of Farmers Insurance. And as such, their bid has no weight in this matter. Period. End of story.
They don't have the same overhead. They don't have the same cost that I do.
No, Metro Restoration probably has a big overhead, but they're not even in line to do this fucking work, and they know it. So they just give the insurance carrier whatever the insurance carrier asks them for. It's not a real number.
When I was a TPA, I got called out all the time to go out and just give a bid for the adjuster to write from and everything. You get paid like $100, $150. You think it was worth my time to sit there and write an estimate like I would write normally? No, like I'm not going to go 100%. I'm going to give about 70, 80%. Feel like that's good enough. I'm done. There's no problem. I had better things to do with my time. Like I'll write a pretty good estimate, but it's not the full estimate I would normally write because I'm not getting paid enough to do it.
Anytime a carrier asks you to go out and give a comp bid, that is not, you should charge market rate. And guess what? Market rate is $165 an hour. Just tell them, hey, I need a comp bid. All right, I'm $165 an hour. This is going to cost you $1,500. Oh, wait, whoa. I have a $250 budget. Well, fucking pound sand then. I'm not going to undercut my fellow restorers for $250. My pride and integrity is worth more than $250. And worse yet, there's people out there doing it for free. And those scabs can go, man, I'd punch him in the face. If you're a scab doing comp bids for free, fuck you.
Yeah.
Find a better line of work.
I mean, you're not going to do that for long.
Well, I got a little heated there. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's very hard. I mean, there's so many factors that need to be played into when we write these estimates. I mean, it's just like, a light fixture, a LATIV and Xactimate, and the prices I'm in right now is $33 for the material. That is like, and that's just for the average grade. That's not below standard. That's not the standard apartment grade. That's the average grade. It's $33. I don't know many people that go out and buy a light fixture and they're like, oh, that's only $33. I'll be happy with that one there. They want, they're paying $40, $50. Like, Your initial, like you said, initial estimate is for ACV allotment, and then you
$33
bill
gets
it
you
and
a boob
update all
light.
your-
No one
But
likes
most-
boob lights.
But nobody comes. But here's the other problem: almost a vast majority of contractors, they'll update some of the pricing, some of the things that work and all, but they don't take the time on the back end to go through and be like, how much did we pay for these lights? Let me update this here and
Well,
stuff.
because it
do
takes a lot of
supplement.
time to do that.
Yeah, they don't.
It does.
It's not worth their time
It does.
and all. But that's what's hurting us also is that it's and I'm not saying it's laziness. It's just it's not profitable to spend that extra amount of time, spend that time because you can't. You're not going to. The insurance doesn't want to bill for your labor supervision hours on a residential. Why? Why wouldn't you? Like you need. I'm the GC. It's my job to supervise.
We don't pay for that.
We don't pay for that. Show me the fucking.
We never pay for that.
I will say though, I have gotten State Farm to pay residential supervision
That's
on a
the
job.
cost of doing business. I love that one.
Cost
And
of doing
the
business.
way I got State Farm to
My
pay
blood
for
boils
job
when I
site
hear that.
supervision on a residential claim was I was like, this house is in the boonies. It's about 35 minutes outside of town. There is no cell signal there. So if something happens, my guys have to drive 30 minutes in. That's an hour of lost labor. So I'm going to sit there and work on my computer in the driveway each day. They're working there. And I'm going to charge you an hour of my time each day, but I'm going to be there each day, but I'm going to be doing other stuff. In case they need something, I can run and go get it so they're not slowing the job down. And the State Farm judge was like, that makes sense. I'll do it. And I was like, I live in a bubble. Thank you, God.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
And I mean, I feel like a lot of adjusters, they do. I feel like a lot of the adjusters I talk to, at least, they want to pay it. But 9 times out of 10, like you said, it's not them saying no. It's the powers above them saying, you're not going to pay that.
They have almost zero power.
When an adjuster says we don't pay for that, that only means we don't want to pay for that.
Yeah.
Because they pay for it every single day. And we just got to understand that as an industry, they just don't want to pay it. Unless they can come up with an exclusion in the policy or aliens and lasers, space lasers, I don't know a good reason why not to pay for these things. If it's a valid job cost, it's not overhead, you fucking charge for it.
Well,
and they
just
pay
like
for it.
Before 2009, they sold mold coverage, and mold was a covered claim. And then they realized, oh, everybody's filing mold, and it's costing us an arm and a leg. Let's exclude it now.
Is that your good response that you use? Show me in the policy where that's excluded, Mr. Adjuster or Mrs. Adjuster.
Well, that's my comment for my homeowner to say because I'm not a public adjuster, so I can't read
this is true. Joe, you're 100% correct. But it is that is across the board. The most states have accepted the federal the federal law or federal statute, the Unfair Claims Practices Act. It's a federal act. And most states have ratified a version of the Unfair Claims Settlement Practices Act. Part of that act, one of those components is every denial must be specific in what is not covered and what provision of the policy provides that exclusion.
And in writing.
And remember,
right? Yeah, the denial has to be in writing. These letters that we don't pay for that.
Yeah.
That's not a denial. That's not an official denial letter. It's not even a partial denial letter. That is just them once again rolling the dice and gambling that the insured is not educated or empowered enough to know better.
The 2 things I always tell everybody: number 1, whenever there's ambiguity, whenever there's something in question, by law, insurance has to side with the client. In the story, like if they're like, I don't know if it's covered or not, well, guess what? That means it's covered because
tie goes to the runner.
The tie goes to the person who signs the contract, not the person who wrote the contract.
Yep.
And
it's a contract of adhesion, and thereby the tie goes to the runner every single time.
And the other part that they will go to the end of the earth on trying to fight you with is, yes, if I'm trying to do an ACV allotment, I have no problem. I'll abide by every one of your stupid ass carrier guidelines on my ACV first allotment check assignment. But those allotments and those assignment stuff can go out the window on the back end when I'm done with the job because now it's a service surrendered. And if you don't want to pay my full bill, I'll balance bill the remaining balance to my homeowner. And guess what? Now the homeowner, you have to reimburse the homeowner and all. And like I said at the beginning of the conversation today, if you don't like my scope, we can talk about that. If you don't like
Mhm.
my price, there are provisions like appraisal and umpiring that you can invoke to fight me on my price. But the carriers don't want you to invoke appraisal, or they don't want to invoke appraisal. They want us to invoke appraisal, because then Andy, how does it work? Like we end up having to pay for there or something like that?
No, the person that and it's state by state, but most states, the person that invokes appraisal is bound by the result of that appraisal panel. So the receiver of that appraisal, like if the carrier demands appraisal and you go through the appraisal process, the insured is not necessarily bound by the result of that appraisal panel, but the carrier is. And the same is in reverse. If the insured demands appraisal, they go through the process, they're bound to that result. There's no further, they can't go any further. They can't file a lawsuit or anything else to say, I don't agree with this result. And that is why you have these scare tactics of these carriers. And Safeco is one of the worst ones. I got one from American Family this week where they'll send out a letter that'll look like they're demanding appraisal, but what they really are is, let me remind you of the provision of your policy that talks about appraisal, and they'll make it sound like the appraisal is your next step. If you don't agree with the settlement offer we provided you, you have to choose appraisal. And they're forcing the insured in the appraisal under the pretense that that's the only option they have.
And
when in reality,
let's go to appraisal, they're now stuck at whatever.
Now they're stuck.
But see,
in the appraisal process, I'm going to hit B on this because I want to come back to this in a highlight. The appraisal process in this country is broken. It is rigged and weighted on the side of the carrier. Most of the appraisers and umpires are IAs, or they're bought and they're already purchased by the carriers. So going into the appraisal process is a win most of the time, because the way the carriers have framed it is the appraisal process is just a reclaim. It's a redo on the claims. They get another independent adjuster in there and they run it like a claim, where it's nothing like a claim. It doesn't have to be a claim. It's just a valuation dispute. But what the carriers are doing is they're using appraisal as a weapon against the insured at this point. And they're forcing way more people into appraisal than it's really, in my opinion, appropriate. Appraisal is not always appropriate. So what I say is, if you really think you're going to go to appraisal, find an attorney first and file a lawsuit. File a lawsuit under the protection of go to appraisal under protection of a lawsuit. That's different.
If you start the project, like Joe said, services rendered, and I use the term costs incurred to the policyholder.
Yep.
If you submit an invoice, you bypass, here's my estimate, please review. We just don't do that anymore. We submit services rendered and costs incurred to the policyholder. You want to negotiate? We'll have a discussion maybe.
Well, and that's the biggest.
It's not up for negotiation, but
and
if you do,
go ahead, Amy.
Well, they always want to.
So I did it today. Today, they had a problem with 3 line items. One of those line items was, we think there's only 3 linear feet of lay flat ducting justified. And I said, okay, the air mover is on the floor. We have 10-foot ceilings, and we were drying the ceiling cavity. That's 10 linear feet. How are you going to dry it with 3 linear feet of lay flat? But their first one was, part of the emergency services, right? Certain emergency services, emergency dispatch fee is $250 or whatever it was. And, we think that's cost of doing business.
You're right. I'm passing on my homeowner as a charge.
And I said, well, no, it's not. And I argued why it's not. But I also said, if we are willing to remove the emergency service fee, if you, in exchange, are willing to pay us this invoice within 15 days. So never give something up without asking for something in return. So giving something up, we do it all day as restorers, and I'm telling you right now, don't do it. If you're going to give something up, this is a negotiation. This is a back and forth. If I'm going to give you something, what are you going to give me? And $250 to get paid on $8,500, I'll do it all day long, but I'm not going to do it without a commitment. I'll remove that fee. If you will commit to me, you're going to pay me. in the
Yeah,
store.
because if you're not careful, they'll also send it. They'll take the $2,500 deductible out of your invoice as well.
A couple things I'm going to say there is one, first off, because Andy made the comment, Tommy Doyce, if you're watching, you are not one of the bad ones. I love you to death. But, one, if you're writing a file and the insurance doesn't want to pay for it and you're going to agree to it, fine. That's your choice. It's your business decision. Do not delete it from the file. Zero it out. Put a note in that says not approved.
Put a note. Yes.
Because if you ever go to court, guys, and you're like, oh, well, they didn't, I'm sick with mold and everything, and it's their fault. And here's their file, and they didn't HEPA-vac. You can't be like, well, we charged for it. The insurance just wouldn't pay for it. But if it's on your file here, the insurance denied or whatever, that covers your ass. Number one. Number two, the biggest problem that every contract, not every, obviously, but a vast majority of contractors say and do is we don't bill you. We'll bill the insurance for the cost of this job. And you tell the homeowner, and then you tell the homeowner, well, whatever the insurance pays us, we're going to take.
Oh.
No, that is not the way this works. Stop saying that. That is like
stop saying that and take it out of your contracts, people.
That's you go out of business doing that.
And then finally, if your contract does not have even a rough price on it, it is not valid. You have
especially in California.
In Indiana, you're allowed a $5,000 buffer. I think this job's $6,000. I'm going to put it between $5,000 and $9,000. And if it goes over 9, you have to do a change order, just like I would on a reconstruction. But that covers you, because if you just put on there per exactimate pricing or whatever, a judge will say, the homeowner has no proof it's $1, $100, or $1 million.
We have a 16-page contract. That's what California forces us to do. We have a 16-page contract to cover every single thing that may or may not happen on a job.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to. Everyone out there who's not, everyone out there, please, if you can hear my voice, if you have insurance proceeds or per exactimate pricing or whatever the insurance company will pay in your contract, do yourself a favor, do the industry a favor, take it out tomorrow. I don't care if you scratch it out with a pen because you have 100,000 of these printed up in the back office somewhere. Take it out of your contract, because you are just asking. There are very savvy carriers out there and very savvy adjusters that will get a hold of your contract and say, well, you said you would do it for whatever we paid, and we gave you 50 cents on the dollar. And there is zero you can do about that if they decide to hang you.
Orders, a savvy homeowner can say, oh, you got the insurance to agree to $10,000, but my contract only says the cap was at 5,000, so here's your 5,000, and they take the rest of the money and run because you didn't do
exposure you don't need. God, I mean, everyone, this is one of the hardest industries to work in. Everyone wants to screw you. Everyone, the bigger the jobs get, the more risk you have of not getting paid. The more risk you have of insureds going, oh, this is a lot of money. I can do it myself, or you didn't earn all this money. It's just, we have to keep our heads on a swivel and protect our asses and contracts in the first place.
If you want to tell homeowners no money down, that's fine. I disagree. You should collect some deposit.
I disagree.
They need to put some skin in the game. But if you need to do that marketing because in your area people don't have the money, $1,000 or $500 laying around, I get that. No money down. We'll start the work and everything. But like we said, do not say we'll do it for insurance fees, because if your insurance wants to only pay $5,000 for your $10,000 bill, you're not just going to say, screw it, I'm not getting paid $5,000. You have to be able to go back to the homeowner. It's just like code upgrade stuff. If they don't have coverage, you still have to do it because it's required by code. Just because the insurance doesn't want to pay for HEPA vacuuming or for the air scrubber the entire time there.
Well, not to go too deep. I mean, we are an hour and a half into this, and we all got to go. But code coverage, and specifically, keep in mind that you have code coverage, even if you don't have code coverage, up to the limit of your Schedule A dwelling. Right? if the repairs, including the new panel that they're required to put in for code, is under your Schedule A dwelling, additional code coverage is irrelevant because you're not beyond your original coverage. So don't let adjusters tell you, well, that's a code item, and you don't have coverage for code. Well, yeah, I don't need coverage for code as long as I'm under my Schedule A limit.
That's big on the roofing guys because like they take the
Huge.
roof off and there's
Yep.
no felt or whatever. Well, they don't have
Whatever.
code upgrade coverage.
As long as you're under your dwelling limit, it doesn't matter. Because you are still, as a contractor, you're required to do work that complies with existing building code. There's not an option not to do it that way. Where it only comes in as additional costs when it's beyond your dwelling limit. And all the PAs out there, flame me, tell me I'm wrong, but show your work because I think I'm right.
Well, I mean, it's just like the mold coverage. Like we do a water job. Well, there's mold there, so you got to throw it in a mold. No, I need to do the water job, and then once the standard water job's done, then let's see if there's still mold existing, and that goes on the mold coverage. Like you have
you didn't get called out for a mold job. You got called out for a water job. So do the water job. All right, Nick's out. Nick, good to see you, buddy. All right, I'll shoot you my email.
Are you tired of riding your bike yet?
Oh, he stopped. He ran out of gas.
Yeah, I got my fill.
All right, guys. Well, like you said, we're about 30 minutes over, so I think it's a good time to call it.
It is.
As always, guys, me and Andy are always here. If anyone ever needs stuff, hit us up on Facebook. Hit us up private message. Email us. Call us.
Yeah, we're not hiding. We're easy to find.
I appreciate you guys.
Lou, appreciate you, brother. All right.